the long, slow rot theory, right? You call total BS on that in the book and really highlight how so many important skills are use it or lose it. So can you talk a little bit about that, Stephen, and the importance of that as well, Mark?
So the old idea, right, is that our mental skills and our physical skills, they decline over time and there's nothing we can do to stop the slide. And we spent most of the last century really proving that out, right? We found all the different ways the brain and the body declines over time. And then starting around 1995 or so, a bunch of studies started showing up where, hey, wait a minute, VO2 max, for example, which we used to believe fell off a cliff and there's nothing we can do. Now it turns out it's totally trainable, and 80-year-olds can have the VO2 max of like 35-year-olds if they're training it properly. And it's same thing with fast twitch muscle response, strength. There are certain things that are going to decline over time a bit, but like not nearly as much as we thought. And like, for example, strength, we'll lose 30% of our strength over time, or our muscle fibers, but the fibers that remain learn how to do way more work. So we've lost 30% of our strength, but it only translates to like a 15% loss over time if you're properly trained, which is pretty spectacular considering all the gains you make in wisdom and expertise and those sorts of things that kind of work around that. But it's really across the board. It's all our cognitive skills, all our physical skills. A lot of it, our hippocampus, which does long-term memory, shrinks over time. How do you fight that? Exercise. Exercise increases hippocampal volume and neurogenesis in the hippocampus. So figuring out how to train the various aspects was complicated, but we now know that pretty much everything that declines over time is a use it or lose it skill, and we can hold on to it and even advance it far later in life than anybody thought possible.
So, Mark, you were just talking about the importance of lifelong learning for you as well. So how does this truth of use it or lose it land for you?
Well, it's a truth with a capital T. And my experience in life has been heavily influenced, obviously, by my Navy SEAL days, my Navy SEAL training. Also, I've been a practitioner of yoga for probably more than 20 years and the martial arts for over 30 years. So when I was in my early 20s, I was a competitive athlete in college. It was largely because I wanted to get the heck away from my family, which was a little chaotic. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about the power of forgiveness and love for longevity as well, because all that stuck energy is gonna corrode you from the inside out. So I found a lot of bliss and joy running in nature, in the wilderness, right up in the Adirondack Mountains, and swimming in the lakes up there, and a lot of that alone. And I found great solace in that. That was kind of very healing for me. Nature was really my first guru. Here I'm 21 years old, and I hesitate to use the word soul, but what came to me, right, just some knowingness that was not cognitive, wasn't something I read in a book. So it wasn't knowledge, it was a knowingness. This knowingness came to me and said, Mark, do not stop training. I decided at that moment when I was 21 to just continue training every opportunity I had every day. So I trained in the morning through a run. I came back, stretched, I meditated. At lunchtime, I went to the gym when all my peers went and did I did a high intensity workout. They went and had a big burger. And in the evening, before I went to NYU, which is down at the old World Trade Center, I had a couple hours break. And that's when I found martial arts, and that led me to Zen meditation, right? And so all of that happened in 1 year when I shifted my environment from college to this school. 95% of humanity really is kind of stuck in a fixed mindset, which means that they believe that they are who they are, they're not going to change, and there's not a damn thing they can do about it. So they just kind of ride things out, and life is what it is. Life happens to them. And then you have those, everyone on this broadcast, who is in a growth mindset. And those are individuals who have had the sense that they actually are becoming something more than what they are. What they are right now is not the whole of it. And it's just this inner sense that they have. And so they decide they're going to do something about it. And that leads them to personal and self-development. It leads them to yoga. It leads them to park skiing, whatever. And so they start to do something about it. When you develop in a multidimensional manner, in an integrative manner, meaning like we train what I call the 5 mountains every day, physically, mentally, emotionally, intuitionally, and spiritually. When you take responsibility for your growth this way, then you unlock this really kind of rapid growth. And your body comes along for the ride. It gets healthier and healthier as you age.